It is grand final day at the Portimao circuit. Welcome to the final two races to determine the 2022 Lamborghini Super Trofeo Grand Final winners. We have two races, as we did yesterday. One is for the pros and the Pro-Ams, and we're going to start with the decider for the Am and Lamborghini Cup classes. And of course, it is the annual weekend where we bring not only the European teams to a different venue, but they are joined by those from North America. And exciting news also this weekend, confirmed that the Asian Championship will restart next season. So we have a very full grid. We've got two champions to crown effectively at the end of this, the Am and the Lamborghini Cup champions. And the Portimao circuit is new to many of them. They have spent an awful lot of time testing and then racing, with two races on Friday before going into the grand finals weekend. So it's a bit like racing boot camp, this. They get a lot of time on track over the course of the week. The grid is based on the second qualifying session that was held yesterday morning, not on race results, but as I say, on separate qualifying times. And it is points scored in each race that you combine, just like a championship. If there is a tie, then it is the driver with the fastest race lap in this race that will be the tiebreaker. So this is where you've got to treat it almost like a dummy qualifying run. David Addison trackside. I'm joined by Lamborghini factory GT racer Mirko Bortolotti. Down on the grid is Marietta Evans, from whom we'll hear in a moment. But Mirko, the Portimao circuit, it's one that gave plenty of action yesterday, and looking forward to a really good race now.
Yeah, hi David. It's great to join you again in the commentary booth for the grand finals. And as you said, great track, great weather, fantastic atmosphere to be here for the final day of the season, and yeah, we can't wait to see the action.
It's a challenging circuit, as we saw yesterday. The pros particularly were getting themselves in strife by ignoring track limits, and a whole raft of penalties came. So perversely, it was the Ams and the Lamborghini Cup drivers who were taking fewer liberties. The pros were being given penalty after penalty for exceeding track limits, and I fear that might be a talking point of race two. We'll go to the grid in a moment and start to hear from one or two of the drivers. As you look there at the car of Nico Roger and David Starb, Nico Roger will start from pole position, for which there is a point. So you factor that in, and they are therefore 6 points back on Andrzej Lewandowski, who was the Am class winner yesterday. The winner of Lamborghini Cup yesterday was Slade Stewart, the American Lamborghini Cup champion. So let's go down to the grid. Claude Senhoretti had a tough time on Friday and yesterday, but Marietta, he's hoping for better fortunes.
Good morning. It has been a weekend of ups and downs for Claudine Senhoretti, but today he and everybody on the grid had a final opportunity to finish the weekend with a great race. Let's hear it quickly from Claudine. Claudine, was a tough day yesterday, but a new opportunity today to leave it on a high. How are you approaching this race?
Well, we're always looking for a new opportunity. You know, this track is amazing. I love the track. We have such a good weather, and for me, I'm so happy to be in Portugal. I'm from Brazil, so I speak Portuguese, and I love to be around. Looking forward to put it a good show out there. You know, I have so many friends and people that are watching for us, so we're looking to do good today.
Thanks, good luck.
You're welcome.
So Claude Senhoretti saying it's an amazing track. Mirko, you've done a lot of laps around here, I guess, testing. It is a circuit that seems to have everything. Lots of undulation, fast bits, slow bits. It's a real test. Yeah,
definitely. It's really one of the coolest tracks in Europe, in my opinion. I really like the flow of it. As you mentioned earlier on, obviously, track limits always an issue here, no matter what championship you're competing. Yeah, I think clarification is all it needs. Driver's briefing, and then obviously drivers needs to keep it on the black stuff, and yeah, don't abuse track limits too much, because obviously it can give you huge advantage, especially turn 1 exit, turn 4 exit, and yeah, those are probably the most tricky corners where you can really gain a lot. But yeah, coming back to the racetrack itself, I've been here the first time in 2009, actually, a few months after it has been opened. Back in single-seaters, testing with the A1 GP test team back then, back in the days. So I really enjoyed it from day one, and it's a really cool track. It's great to be here always.
Martin Rieber is another man we ought to hear from before we go racing, driving solo in the grand finals, Marietta.
Yes, because it is a sign of the increasing popularity of this championship that we keep finding new faces on the grid, like Martin Riva. Martin, what was you're a newcomer in a way. What was your motivation to join Super Trofeo?
Yeah, we've been doing TCR for 5 years, and we decided to make a change and upgrade a little bit with a faster car. And we really enjoy the series. It's very nice. The cars are beautiful, and yeah, it's very nice.
And how is your adaptation to driving this car going?
Yeah, it took me a little while, especially yesterday where I had to start from P27 because my laps were cancelled from qualification, and then we went up to P8, so it was a lot of overtaking. It's a little bit harder because there is a big difference between some of the drivers, so you have to be very careful, but the car is very powerful and completely different to drive than what I was used to do.
Thanks, good luck.
Yesterday's race had a safety car period early on and then a safety car late race that became a red flag. There wasn't time really to clear the circuit, and it was an accident between Bart Collins and Cyril Lyman, neither of whom are on the grid. A lot of damage was sustained in that. That's Andrzej Lewandowski, the man that's going to go into this as the AM leader. He starts on the second row, but Mirko, there's somebody that's raced Lamborghini Super Trofeos for so many seasons. He knows these cars so well.
Yeah, it's always an advantage, surely.
Yeah.
The more races you have under your belt, the better you know the car, the better you know your team, the tires, the more of an advantage definitely you can have in such a big field as we have in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So yeah, for sure it's obviously an advantage, but it's no guarantee in motorsport. It's the level is always. You need to be on the top of your game on that day and try to make it stick. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm sure that it's going to be exciting.
Alex Au is on the outside of the front row. He's in conversation with Marietta.
Alex, our 2 podiums on Friday, I believe. What are you expecting from this race?
It's hard to expect anything. The front few cars are all very competitive. I think like the top 10 cars are within a second. So I just try and do my best, pushing every lap and see what happens.
Thanks, good luck.
Alex Au, the Hong Kong driver who's done his racing in America this year. Of course, there's still the travel dramas for drivers from China and Hong Kong and Macau, as the Macau Grand Prix is still suffering from. So he faces dramas in terms of quarantining when he goes back to Hong Kong. It's great to have him racing in Europe. There is the AM class winner from America, Shehan Chandrasoma, who has, in his first full season of car racing in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, done a really good job. And so, although there are 1 or 2 gaps on this grid, it's still a very busy one. There is Gabriel Rindoni, who got turned around at the first corner yesterday from the front row of the grid, but then lost so many places, not just because he spun, but he couldn't find a gap in the traffic. So he had a sort of double problem, the spin, but then he had to wait and wait and wait before everybody had gone past, before then finally he could rejoin. Is this a tough circuit at which to overtake, or is part of the problem that everybody has the same type of car and they're so evenly matched?
For sure they're evenly matched, but there is no track actually where overtaking is not possible. I think Portimao is actually quite a wide track with some long straights, some really heavy brake zones with some hairpins. So actually there are quite a few overtaking opportunities around here. But yeah, surely it depends on your strategy. Sometimes staying behind can be beneficial, looking at your end result, or yeah, being involved in fights you don't want to be involved too early. These kind of things. But generally, we always see good racing, and yeah, I expect to see the same now today.
A quick word about the pit stops as well. You don't have to have a co-driver, but you can if you wish. But everybody does have to make a pit stop in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. 50-minute race, pit window between 20 and 30 minutes. If you're on your own, if you're a solo driver, your pit stop is a little bit longer by 3 seconds, 97 seconds as against 94 seconds for the 2 drivers, because being on your own does give you a bit of an advantage. You know what the track is like, you know what the car is like in that second stint.
Yeah, especially on the outlap. I think you will gain a lot just having been in the car for, I don't know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes in the first stint, and then, being completely familiarized with track condition, with your car, will give you surely an advantage on your outlap and on the first few laps, let's say, in your second stint. So it's actually a fair thing to have that little penalty in case you're not sharing the car with someone else.
Well, we're about to go racing, and there's the race to look at. There's also the Grand Finals championship situation to look at as well. And for the last time for these drivers, they blast away from the line. The Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. The cars look great, sound fantastic, and the way that the championship has just become so popular, very impressive indeed. One car starting there from the pit lane, we'll come to in a moment as we look at the grid, which has Nico Roger starting on pole position and Alex Au with him at the front of the grid. On the second row, there is the AM Championship leader, the winner of yesterday's race, therefore, Andrzej Lewandowski, and Shehan Chandrasoma is going to line up alongside him. On the third row is Gabriel Rindoni, the Luxembourg driver, after that spin yesterday, and it's going to be the American driver Tyler Hoffman sharing with Wesley Slim for TPC Racing, who starts 6th on the grid. 7th is Adrian Lewandowski, Andrzej's son, sharing with Gregor Machulski, who's a very newcomer to racing. That's only about his 3rd race meeting for Adrian Lewandowski. Martin Rieber, from whom we've just heard, is next, ahead of Claude Santoretti. And then Stefan Guerin for Arcadia Racing will go from 10th. 11th on the grid is the uber cool, always sunglasses wearing Raffaele Giannone, and Randy Solari from the North American Championship lines up alongside him, ahead of Jürgen Krebs and the Georgian racer Shota Alcazaba, who's come back into Super Trofeo late this season after effectively 3 seasons away. Marc Rostin is next on the grid with the Lamborghini Cup champion in Europe this year, Gerard van der Horst, alongside him, a 4th title for the Dutchman. Holger Harmsen is 17th on the grid, with then alongside him the Lithuanian driver Arturs Batraks. He's ahead of Cedric Lima, who is there on the grid. I should say it's Cyril that's missing, and then Francois Saint-Molin alongside. Thomas Tate wasn't on the grid. I think he's going to start from the pit lane. Bart Collins' car badly damaged yesterday and missing, so also Cyril Lima. So we've lost that car, but we do have Fred Roberts, who had 2 wins on Friday. Ofir Levy is next with Pierre Feligioni lining up alongside him. 27th on the grid, Libor Dvoracek, and then Slade Stewart, this year's Lamborghini Cup champion in the North America Super Trofeo. He's ahead of Tiger Tari, the loquacious American, and Jason Keats alongside. 31st is where you find Hans Fabry, and then the father and son Privitellios. Luciano will start, that's Dad. 33rd on the grid, Alfredo Hernandez, and then it's Alan Grossberg next. He had a puncture yesterday. 35th, Rana Tapatu in the car that was on pole position for yesterday's race. Jordan O'Brien, very quick, his co-driver, and Kumar Prabhakaran would have been at the back of the grid, but that car was missing as well. So we are about to go racing as the cars make their way now out of turn 15. The rolling start means they have to get themselves in this 2x2 formation. The Algarve circuit, like many, has the start line in a different place from the finish line, so the timing line is as you come out of the last corner, the start line is midway up the straight, and you're right on board then now with Andrzej Lewandowski as the cars make their way towards the lights. Alain Adon, the race director, will give the instruction to get the race underway if he's content with the formation of the grid. They accelerate up towards the line now, the lights will blink green. We go racing for the last time for these drivers this weekend. Nico Roger takes the lead as they drop down towards turn 1 then, but he comes under immediate attack. Alex Au has a look on the inside. Lewandowski in the white car goes to the outside, gets run up the curb to the inside line. There goes the gold car of Chandrasoma, and Lewandowski forced wide over the curb, but he keeps his foot in. He goes to the outside line at turn 3. That's going to be the inside line for turn 4, and the white car of Lewandowski goes second. That, Mirko, was a good move by Lewandowski.
Absolutely. Great start from everyone in the field so far, no drama. Clean racing, wheel to wheel, and great start from everyone so far.
So down towards turn 5, Nico Roger, however, has made a really good start. He's been able to build a lead on cold tyres over the first few corners. Everybody else comes out of that very tight hairpin at turn 5, then climb up the hill. Some go wide and get an advantage by running onto that extra tarmac. This is turn 8, climbing all the while at this point as there Chandrasoma goes round the outside of Alex Au. So the Hong Kong driver is dropping back a little bit as the leaders then come over the brow for the first time. This sort of corkscrew effect, you plunge downhill though, just as you've recovered from that, you have to head up the hill and then you plunge down the other side. So drivers working hard, but right now it is Nico Roger that leads the way. And battles rage on all the way through the field. Whoops, one getting run out wide there, but diving to the inside line. That was Cedric Lima, very experienced Lamborghini racer, and he survived the moment there. So we've got the cars coming up towards the end of the opening lap. But impressive this from the leader, Nico Roger, because he is on coldish tyres and he's been able to really push on this first lap and build a lead.
Yeah, he could really benefit from the lap 1 action, David, there. So really good start from him. And he managed to pull a gap already on lap 1. Let's see how it will play out for the rest of the race. Obviously, it can be also strategic. You can work on your tires a little bit harder to have a benefit at the beginning of the race. Maybe, yeah, could be a drop at the end, but we will have a look at it. But for now, definitely great first lap for the leader and pulling already a gap.
Yeah, Nico Roger, that race leader, as you see, Gerard van der Horst, 98, going around the outside, and others going way off the racetrack there. Nico Roger, who's come really from Mazda MX-5 racing, but then into LMP3 in America. He's done some TCR racing there, 22, which is Libor Dvoracek. He gets run out wide. The other car that was exceeding track limits a bit at turn 1 was Benoit Semoulin. There he is, number 26. So, of course, the race direction team will have a look at these transgressions, and penalties after multiple warnings can come. There's Dvoracek, number 22, down towards turn 5. Fred Roberts, the Canadian, behind him, and then the pink and black car with a unicorn painted on the side. That is Slade Stewart, the winner of Lamborghini Cup within Super Trofeo North America this year. Gerard van der Horst goes through 4 times now, a Lamborghini Cup champion in Europe, and pushing on as he makes the climb now out of turn 8, over the brow. So Gerard van der Horst using all of his experience to good use, and coming into this race only 4th in the Lamborghini Cup battle yesterday. Now the lead gap's coming down, isn't it, here? Andrzej Lewandowski there is catching Nico Roger after that impressive first lap. Now that Lewandowski has got the tyres up to temperature, he's really pushing.
Absolutely. I mean, the first 2 pulling away at the moment, great pace from them. They could benefit from the action at the back of the field, so definitely, yeah, things are gonna get spicy in the next 2 laps. And yeah, track limits, as I said before, will surely be a factor, so it's really important to keep it between the white lines so to don't get penalties that can really affect your end result at the end.
Now that last lap by Lewandowski there in second place, the white car, that was 0.4 of a second quicker than Nico Roger, give or take. So the gap is certainly coming down. Shehan Chandrasoma runs 3rd, Alex Au is 4th. So Lewandowski second on the road, winner yesterday, whereas Staub and Roger were 4th yesterday. So in terms of points, it's advantage Lewandowski for the world finals. A big dive is made there. Look up the inside line, scrabbling through, just about getting it slowed down in time with Shota Abkhazova, but he gets through, gains the place. That was a good move, wasn't it? Really incisive.
Great move there on the brakes. Just wait for the right moment to launch it into the inside of turn 5 with great timing and great maneuver by Shota there, so he could gain the place.
Whoops, big spin coming up. Martin Rieber has lost it. Around he goes and does find something solid in the end. He just seemed to run wide. Claude Sonoretti ahead of him ran wide. Rieber ran wider off the road, dropped a wheel and has spun it around. And now he's got to try and fire up the car again. I thought he was just about going to miss everything, but he's found a barrier. And let's have another look at this, Mirko. So there you've got Claude Sonoretti. He runs wide coming out of turn 8. So he goes wide, look, and drops a wheel in the gravel. But then Rieber behind goes even wider, doesn't he?
Yeah, it looks like he got a little bit caught out on the exit there. Just a little bit unlucky riding over the gravel, and unfortunately lost the car to the inside. But I think he could rejoin from what we could see. But yeah, surely race is a bit compromised now.
Sure. One thing we were seeing yesterday, we've seen it in other races, not just in Super Trofeo, but other classes, is that if a car stalls, it seems to take a long time these days for the car to start up again, as though there's a procedure that you have to go through. Is that the case, or?
I think sometimes you're just in the adrenaline moment. Obviously, need to press some buttons and try to fire the car back up, and sometimes you're stuck in the wrong gear, and then obviously everything comes together, and you can't really resume straight away. But I mean, these guys know the cars really well, and that's, yeah. So we expect them to rejoin without any issues.
Okay, so Martin Rieber, after that spin, hopefully can get back into the race. The yellow flag that was out at turn 8, I understand, has now been withdrawn. You're looking at the car then that leads the way of Nico Roger, and last time he led by 1.8 seconds. He was quicker than Andrzej Lewandowski, and indeed Nico Roger has now done the fastest lap of the race. So there, Lewandowski potentially can just sit there and win the grand final with a win and a second. Think about points. I know he'd like to win the race outright, but of course he will stay in this car, so the pace of it is going to be consistent all the way through, whereas Nico Roger will hand over to David Starb. So with a different driver in the lead car, its pace could be affected. This is Lewandowski fighting it onto the pit straight, but seemed to run wide there, rattling it up onto the curb. Comes over the timing line, and the gap this time is up again. He's dropping back, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think it's all under control. I mean, he knows the situation he's in. He knows that second place would be good enough for him for the points. So definitely he's controlling the pace. Obviously, as I said before, be careful on track limits, because that can really be a surprise at the end of the race. But he knows that yeah, P2 might be enough for him. Surely he will try to go for the win, but ultimately thinking about the championship here.
And we are getting warnings about track limits. Pierre Feligioni and Cedric Lima are the first two drivers to have attracted the attention of the officials. They're going through. Shehan Chandrasoma in third place, Alex Au fourth. Fifth behind him is now Tyler Hoffman. They're in sixth place, Gabriel Rindoni. So Rindoni, who was second on the grid yesterday, had a really good fight back after the spin at the first couple of corners. He was turned around by a rival, but the early red flag and the second safety car certainly went against him. It reduced the amount of racing time he had to gain places. The constant frustration of a safety car period, therefore. So out of turn 10 they come, drop downhill. So the lead gap now 2.4 seconds, and Nico Roger building the gap, and that's Martin Rieber, who had got going but has now ground to a halt. So rather looks as though the car picked up a bit more damage than we first thought.
Yeah, looks like, unfortunately for the 71 after that spin a few laps ago. So yeah, hopefully he can get the car back on track as soon as possible. Otherwise, yeah, there might be a yellow flag there for a longer period.
Or indeed a safety car to have to get the car moved off the road. So the officials will be looking at this and hoping that Martin Rieber can get it fired up and drive it off the road. Now, this battle is taking up attention. Alex Au, look, number 120, is being caught by Tyler Hoffman. Both of them out of the American Championship. Alex Au, the Hong Kong driver, but good in qualifying, but he's now losing touch with the leaders. Started on the front row, remember, and now he's almost like the cork in the bottle, because he's got two cars queued up behind him.
Yeah, good fight this for P4. That's the race we want to see. I mean, this is just brilliant to watch. Close racing for position. Yeah, handled in a fair way. Let's see how it will evolve over the race, David.
So Alex Au is the man feeling the pressure, but driving his own race, doing his best to fend off Tyler Hoffman, but he goes a little bit wide coming out of turn 8. Hoffman in the red and blue car looks for a way by, can't do it. And Gabriel Rindoni next in the queue, looking for a way past the pair. Over the brow they come again, down to turn 10. Hoffman again looks on the inside, still can't do it, but Tyler Hoffman there has the tough task. He's trying to attack, but he's trying to defend as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he knows he probably has a little bit more pace, trying to get, you know, the position, but he also knows if I make a mistake, I will lose one. So definitely he's looking for the right spots to make it stick, but hasn't found a way through yet.
And we've got another yellow flag, and it's down at the turn 5 hairpin, I understand. So we've got a car potentially in strife down at that very tight hairpin around the back of the paddock, but the race leaders come through with the advantage now, 2.9 seconds, Nico Roger to Andrzej Lewandowski, and more warnings come about track limits. When we get to penalties, we'll get more concerned. Alex Au goes through there 4th, Tyler Hoffman 5th, 6th, Gabriel Rindoni. Down towards turn 1. This first sequence, you go right again, and then another right-hander, but that's almost like a hairpin. And there, out of the race, I'm afraid to say, is 113, and that's John Hirschberg. He's facing the wrong way. Now, where is that? That's heading up towards turn 12, isn't it? And he's got it going again now. But I just wonder whether I'd seen the tyre off the rim in that, as though he'd been given a tag. And here's the evidence of it. So that's Pierre Feligioni getting up on the inside. Yes, there was contact. And around goes John Hirschberg. Oops. And a big whack as round the outside goes Feligioni, and bodywork flies. Big delay. So the two drivers getting themselves together. Now, we are getting penalties because number 22, which is Libor Dvoracek, is being given 5 seconds for causing a collision. So now we'll start logging all of these because it's going to affect the result at the end of the race. So there is 22 causing a collision. But we haven't seen that, and that's interesting because it was number 2, not 22, that was involved in that last incident, Pierre Feligioni. But anyway, Dvoracek is being given a penalty for something. This might be it, down at the hairpin. Let's have a look. He gets involved. Oh, he has his own spin. So the plot thickens as to why he's being penalised. Maybe race control has been given wrong information there, but he gets going again. So there is Libor Dvoracek rejoining. Does he get in anybody's way? No. All looks good, so it might be that there's misidentification from the officials. There is 148, Nico Roger, the race leader. And let's praise this stint, Nico, because it's been a good one. He's stretched that gap up to now over 3.7 seconds. He's done a really good job in these first 13 minutes of the race.
Absolutely, yeah. Great dominant performance, I would say, so far. 3.7 second lead, quite comfortable. Yeah, everything under control, but we still have 37 minutes on the clock, so it's more than half race distance to go. And we have huge tire degradation around Portimao. I mean, in general, temperatures are not extremely high, like obviously in summer, but it's still on the higher side. So tires also play a factor here always. Let's keep that monitored. And yeah, we see Lewandowski now running on a good second position. As we said before, probably controlling his pace, controlling the car, knowing that P2 is definitely the result he needs at the end, David.
Sure, indeed, because that would give him the championship. And of course, you've got the pit stops coming, so co-drivers for the double driver entries ready to get on board. Which is worse, waiting for your stint or watching your co-driver after your stint? Which do you like least?
Well, I think that it's on a similar level. Surely getting out of the car is never nice, so I prefer the feeling of rather, getting ready to get in the car rather than jumping out. So, yeah, but I mean, it's part of racing in GTs and Super Trofeo. So it's a team sport. At the end of the day, you share the car with your teammates, and you just enjoy the way it is. And
sure. Well, right now, Nico Roger is the leader by 3.7 seconds from Andrzej Lewandowski. There in 5th place is Alex Howe because he's lost a spot to Tyler Hoffman. So we were looking at Hoffman earlier. Now we've also lost Gabriel Rindoni. He has fallen back into 10th place. So he's had a drama somewhere. And that means that now it is Adrian Lewandowski into the top 6. Let's quickly go to the pit lane because Marietta is hard at work. And she's caught up with the US Racetronics team and Ophir Levy.
Guys, it looks like your car may have found some difficulties. Could you tell us what happened?
Yeah, we got a great start, and Ophir got us. We were in 2nd place, and a car tried to come on the inside and bumped him. He did a spin. He got the car started. We don't know what kind of shape the car's in, but yeah, we're going to get out there and do the best we can. So still got time left, so it's a long race. Never know what can happen.
And you both arrived here with possibilities to fight for the title in North America. Trophy means you have had a good speed all through the year. How are you feeling with the pace you found at this racetrack?
Yeah, this has been an amazing experience. So fun, such a big track, so many cars. Competition was tight. We went into the U.S. Championship just a point apart. 2 other guys, so the whole week's been awesome and aggressive racing all around. So it's been a blast.
Fantastic. Good luck. Thank you.
Marietta, thanks. We're getting more penalties. 5 seconds for Pierre Feligioni for track limits, not for the incident that we saw with the car of John Hirschberg earlier on, and Ophir Levy at the wheel of it. You just heard from John Hirschberg as there up through the traffic goes the recovering 113, so it's got good pace again now that it's in the right direction, and Ophir Levy works his way up past Alan Grossberg and moves himself 1 place further up the order. There's a yellow flag at turn 14 as well, which is up towards the end of the lap. We'd seen 1 car off the road, which was again Libor Dvoracek. We also seem to have another car stranded. It might be him, but we'll keep an eye on this lap as the field gets closer to the pit window, just over 3 minutes from the pit window opening. And in some cases, if you are the quicker driver, of course, Mirko, you're going to stay out for as long as possible, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to maximize the faster pace in the car for the, for thinking about the end result, of course. So yeah, probably we will see some split strategies. Some drivers pitting early, some drivers going a bit longer. Obviously, there's also definitely some risk when you pit too early, because obviously if a safety car is deployed or something, sure, it's gonna be a problem. You're gonna lose a lot of time. But yeah, let's see what happens in the next few minutes.
The teams have to be careful as well, don't they? They've got to try to second guess almost where the car will be released, because if you leave the pit lane straight into traffic, then slow lap times again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the timing is all about timing. This pit stop, there's not much you can gain in the pit stop itself, because there's just a minimum standing time and a driver change, so there's no tire change or refueling or things like that going on in Super Trofeo. So basically it's just about getting the right timing, looking at the condition on the track based on your traffic situation, obviously, and as I said before, I mean, sometimes you have obviously a lineup with a faster driver, trying to maximize the time with a faster driver, or pitting early when you have your slower-ish driver in the car. So all these kind of things play a role definitely in a race like that.
For sure. Some super slow-mos of the leading drivers then as they're heading into turn one. Now, we've been talking about pit stops. The window is just over a minute and a half away from opening. So in some cases, if it's the slower driver in first, they'll bring that car into the pit lane, do the driver change. Ron Atapatu, for example, who was on the back row of the grid, his co-driver was on the front row of the grid after his qualifying session. So there's a car you can anticipate to come in early. More and more warning flags are coming. The penalty log, I think we've got 3 drivers now, 1 for a collision and 2 for track limits. There is the race leader, Nico Roger, who has kept this margin to be a good solid one over Andrzej Lewandowski. He's now 3.8 seconds ahead. They came here with a chance of winning the AM class within Lamborghini Cup, the AM class in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America, but it was an alternator problem going into race 2 that effectively meant that they couldn't join in. They did one hesitant lap from the pits and the car retired, but now the car looking very, very strong indeed, as there, turning through, is number 5, a little bit further back. That's Adrian Lewandowski, son of Andrzej, and he's in 6th place, sharing with Gregor Mokczulski, who is more experienced but arguably not as quick. So that car is another one that might drop down, and if Lewandowski Jr. is the faster of the 2 within the car, then he might stay out that little bit longer. So you've got some teams working out when they can bring their guy in early, others looking at how long they can keep him out for. But the window will open within the next 16 seconds as down to the hairpin comes Nico Roger, the car squirming a little bit there under braking. Another penalty to Cedric Lima. He's already had 1, so now he's got a second 5-second penalty, and that's for track limits yet again. So the driver's not really learning. Yesterday they were all very well behaved, but today they are being a little bit more adventurous with the track limits. So pit window is now open. Are the track limits, Mirko, a problem at almost every corner, or are there specific corners around Portimao where you do exceed them?
No, there's definitely some specific corners, like exit turn 1 or exit turn 4, and the exit of the last corner, turn 15, where yeah, it's quite easy to be dragged out a little bit by by the speed. Obviously, the tires dropping down, so the grip gets lower and lower in terms of tires throughout the stint. On the other side, obviously, you're getting a little bit less weight with burning the fuel, so the car actually stabilizes at some stage. But yeah, for sure on those three corners, the risk is the highest. Let's say to run into an infringement that obviously painful, having some time added to your time at the end of the race, which can surely affect your end result.
Well, there is number 148, Nico Roger, the race leader. He's coming up towards turn 3 now. As far as I'm aware, he's not had too many warnings about track limits, but we've got pit stops now starting to cycle through, pit lane getting busy, and the Privitellios, I think, are amongst those that have come in, father and son. they all seem to have pocketed at one place within the pit lane right now as well. The Semolans are in, the car leaves. There, out of the leading group, from third place is 119 Shehan Chandrasoma, and he's just been given his last warning for track limits. So Chandrasoma, the AM champ in America this year, he needs to behave himself when he goes back out. More and more of them come pouring down the pit lane. But as you were making the point earlier, Mirko, there's not very much that can be done here other than a driver change and check the tyre pressures and maybe clean the screen. The most important task is for the man at the front with the stopwatch to make sure he releases the car at the right moment.
Yeah, exactly. And another interesting thing about the top three is that I think that the leading car is, we will expect the driver change there, but the second and third place car, the third place car is in the pits now. They're running solo, so that could be also another factor to be looking at from now to the end of the race.
Because if you're a soloist like Andrzej Lewandowski in second place, it's a longer pit stop, so he will lose 3 seconds because of that longer stop, although in theory he can gain that back, as Mirko Bortolotti was explaining earlier, on the outlet particularly. That's when you've got that real advantage by staying in the car. Now, the race leader, of course, with a good lead, is about to encounter traffic, because now cars being released from the pit lane, they're going to be in his way. There's Shehan Chandrasoma then. He's gone a lap down, but he'll gain that back when the race leader pits. But there, in the traffic, the leader, being slightly impeded up at turn 3.
Yeah, that's exactly what you don't want to happen when you stay out long. Obviously, that's the risk you encounter sometimes with, obviously, cars leaving the pits, and you know that's a really crucial part of your race. You need to maximize your pace, and every single car you need to pass on the track is painful at that moment. But he managed to get through traffic really well in this initial part of the lap. So looks like a free lap for him for the second and third sector, which is surely important. As I said, every bit of pace he can get out, he needs to put on track right now in order to extend his lead.
Well, 4.7 seconds is Nico Roger's lead over Lewandowski, so he's done a very, very good job, as we've been saying in this stint. In third place is Tyler Hoffman at the moment, number 109. Fourth is Alex Au, and then fifth is Adrian Lewandowski. Gabriel Rindoni sixth, as he fought back yesterday into the top 10, so he's another driver coming into this on the back foot. But yeah, a mighty opening stint by Nico Roger here, and he comes now up towards turn 15. See whether he's going to peel into the pit lane this time around. We're about halfway through the window. The angle of the car suggests he's going to stay out for another lap, which he does, and the fact that he's staying out for longer also would suggest that the team feel he is the quicker of the two drivers. So again, you can expect the pace of the car to be a little bit different in the next stint.
Well, we will see. I mean, for sure, for now, he's done an amazing job. He's in the rhythm. He's doing great. So it's surely, as we said before, if your traffic situation gives you a chance to run cleanly without losing too much time in traffic, it's definitely the right call to stay out as long as the pace is good, definitely. So I expect him to stay out as long as possible, and then to do the pit stop as late as possible in the pit window. But he's running actually into traffic from what we can see now, so that's for sure not ideal for him. Let's see what strategy they will opt for now at the end of this lap.
You just seen also in the pit lane Andrzej Lewandowski from second place, and because these are regulation pit stop times, there's no panic about them. It was all quite relaxed. He even had time to take on board some water, put the bottle down on the ground as the tyre pressures were checked. And now he waits, and the car controller, when he gets the allotted time, will allow him away. And Lewandowski sets off down the pit lane to encouragement from the pit wall, but he's still looking good to win the AM category within the grand finals. Others in the pits, and of course we await the race leader in. The gap was around the 4.7 second mark when the pit window was open, and the opportunity to pit was taken by Lewandowski. But he will drop back a little bit further. His stop has to be longer, as I've been saying, because of the fact that he's a solo driver. But now he leaves the pit lane, blasts down to turn 1. I've got to be careful of cutting the white line. And he drove over it, didn't he? Two wheels were over it, certainly not all four, but yes. Now, in a GT3 race, the race director, I think, would be banging his fist on the table. Maybe a bit more allowance is made for AM drivers. What do you think?
I don't know. we need to see the situation again. I mean, I need to see the replay, but yeah, it's not our job, David. we're just commentating the race, and let's see what happens. Now, I think as we can see, the rest of the field is pitting with our race leader in the pit lane, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it is now. Nico Roger is in, and that's a rather slow Cedric Lima on track. He's already got 2 5-second penalties for track limits, but that's a car with a problem by the look of it. But yes, the point that we were just making about Andrzej Lewandowski, as he rejoined the road, he put 2 wheels over that white line, which is the line that is to demark the pit lane from the racetrack, and many a race director says treat that like a barrier. So if you hit a barrier, you'd be out of the race or pick up damage, and therefore if you cross the white line, a penalty will come. But we'll wait and see what pans out from that. It was only 2 wheels, not all 4. There's now a yellow flag at turn 5. It's been a busy race, this, with people slithering off the road, and only 2 minutes of the pit window remain. So the bulk of the cars have served pit stops, although Tyler Hoffman and Alex Au have yet to stop. And there is the car that did lead that first stint. So that's now David Starb at the wheel, and he makes his way down the pit lane after Nico Roger's very good stint. And at the end of the next lap, we'll get an idea of the margin between him and Lewandowski. See other drivers keeping away from that white line as they come over the pit exit mark. Shehan Chandrasoma, another solo, is going through. And from Austin, Texas, the Lamborghini Austin entry, and now he's got a 5-second penalty. He was on his last warning for track limit offences, and now Shehan Chandrasoma is another one to pick up a 5-second penalty for track limits. Double waved yellow flags are down at the turn 5 hairpin. And there is the car that led that opening stint, David Starb at the wheel. And of course, on this lap, he's got to get used to the track again, get used to the car. And we've also just had into the pit lane Adrian Lewandowski, the son of Andrzej, to serve his mandatory pit stop. Now, the fastest lap is from a car that was last earlier on. Jordan O'Brien, who was on pole position for yesterday's race, has taken over Ron Atapatu's car and is flying. But now we'll start to get an idea, not on this lap, he's out lap, but on the next one, of the pace of David Starb relative to the opposition. Claude Senhoretti, who we heard from on the grid, has just copped 5 seconds worth of a penalty for, yes, track limits. How did you guess? But you're looking at David Starb. And the outlap is always a tough ask of a co-driver, isn't it? Because you've got to fight for your position, you've got to get up to speed quickly, learn about the car, learn about the track. There's a lot going on that outlap.
Yeah, it's not easy. Definitely not easy, knowing obviously you're taking over in the lead, so the pressure is on.
Yeah.
Obviously you want, ideally, to keep the position or at least fight for the win until the end. Yeah, and you're fighting with, obviously, guys that have done the first stint, in case of Lewandowski. So it's definitely really, really important first few moments for a driver, you know, getting out on track in that situation. But he's handling it really well for the outlap and the first lap. But we still see that the gap is coming down, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Andrzej Lewandowski was 4.7 seconds back. He's now 2.3, even allowing for that longer pit stop. We just had another penalty given to Shotab Kazava. This is for causing a collision. So he's already got one for track limits. And the lead gap, 2.3, is down to 2.1 in the next sector. So very definitely Lewandowski is on a mission here and taking full advantage of David Starb needing to get up to speed. But of course Lewandowski is so much more experienced in a Lamborghini Super Trofeo race car. That's got to be an advantage.
For sure. As we said before, I mean, it is an advantage. On the other hand, we know that, or he knows that second position is definitely the result he needs. So I'm really looking at the pace right now, expecting to close the gap so that we will see a fight for the win here. But yeah, let's see what happens. I mean, he knows for sure every driver wants to win. It's clear.
Indeed. And that lead gap is coming down. Tyler Hoffman did a very good stint in number 109. He's out of the car, giving it to Wesley Slimp, and that gives Tyler time to talk to Marietta.
Tyler has so many reasons to be proud of that stint he put. How did it feel for you?
The stint was great. The car is really, really great. The TPC guys have been awesome this weekend. And these guys have worked nonstop every session with TPC and Billy Johnson. The car's getting better and better. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how my co-driver Wesley does.
Is Portimao a racetrack you had any knowledge before coming here? What do you think of this track?
The only thing I knew about Portimao before coming here was how magnificent it was. And all of the hype lives up here. I mean, this is my absolute favorite European track I've ever been to. And I mean, don't tell Road Atlanta, but they're very close. It's my home track. So this is a phenomenal racetrack. We really, really love it here.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just thinking about points, Lamborghini Cup is getting interesting because yesterday's winner is 4th and today's leader was 4th yesterday. So it's going to come down to fastest race lap in this race out of those two, but the Semelins, who are running second, were also second yesterday. So Gerard van der Horst gets a point for pole position for one of the races, which I think will also play in his favour, but that's looking very, very tight at the moment, whereas the AMS is perhaps rather more obvious for Andrzej Lewandowski. Good little battle going on here as number 5 of now Gregor Mokczulski tries to fend off Gabriel Rindoni, but Rindoni, again, another soloist, knows exactly how his car is behaving. We keep saying it, but that's going to give him an advantage, isn't it, by dint of being on his own, and he moves to the inside line there, heading through turn 7. Gabriel Rindoni commits to it, does he? Yes, finds the inside line and gets the job done. Good effort.
It's not done yet. It's not done yet. It's still side by side, but now I think he got it. He made it stick on the outside. So good move.
Car a little bit nervous, wasn't it, going through that turn 9 kink, because it sort of jinked around a little bit. But now Rindoni, having made that move, able to get on with the job and start to pull away. So Rindoni finding his way back up. Tyler Hoffman you've heard from, and there is his car now with Wesley Slimp at the wheel of it, but it's fallen back into 7th place, so it's lost ground. And let's have another look at that car coming out of turn 10 over the brow. Wesley Slimp pushing on and getting sideways, and that's why he lost time, because around it goes spectacularly. What happened there? Was that just on the throttle a bit too soon?
I think it was a combination of things, probably a bit too aggressive on brake entry. Not sure he hit his marks the right way, because the way he lost the car there was really unusual to see. So can't really find a different explanation to that. I think it was more driving error.
But of course, you can sort of expect that in an AM race. These aren't pro drivers, these are inexperienced drivers and or businessmen. And they enjoy their racing. We're getting more penalties also coming now through people being short on the pit stop times, but they're not yet affecting the leaders, but they are going to affect Lamborghini Cup. Gerard van der Horst is being given a 1/10 of a second penalty for being fractionally short on the pit stop time, as there is the lead battle, and it's absolutely nose to tail now. David Staab just ahead of Andrzej Lewandowski, so game on for the race lead with 15 minutes to go. Nico Roger's earlier efforts possibly coming to nothing here, because as you can see, Staab is being reeled in by Lewandowski, and he's got 15 minutes in which to plan his attack.
Yeah, finally the fight we were waiting for, David. So obviously, as a leader, getting into traffic now is the last thing you want to see, because you want to be focused on the lead fight rather than trying to get through the back marker. So quite tense moments for sure for these guys, and but yeah, I think the next 14 minutes will be definitely a good fight, a good show for the win.
Well, Nico Roger is equally tense watching this from the pit box. His car is still leading, but for how much longer? Let's hear his thoughts, because Nico is with Marietta.
A quick chat, a quick word with Nico. A very exciting race. You guys are doing so well. Let's talk first about your race start. Was awesome.
Yeah, no. The race start was amazing. We got a massive jump, and you know, these PPM boys just wake up champions. We're just exuding excellence today, and I think David Staab's going to win this one for the boys, bring it back home.
How do you think David can manage now? Because it's gonna not be easy.
It's not going to be easy, but David's excellent, this team's excellent, and we're working with excellence today. So I think he's going to bring it home real easy.
Fantastic. Good luck. Thank you.
Well, it isn't going to be easy. You're absolutely right. We've had a little brush between the two, and now Lewandowski lines up to have a go on the inside. I'm not necessarily sure I share Nico Roger's optimism here, because Lewandowski is crawling all over the back of David Staab. Comes out of turn 14 then, using a little bit more of the road, loses a length in so doing. David Staab now under massive pressure. He's got to hang on in there for another 13 minutes. Tough job.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he knows he's in the lead. He knows he has a chance to, fight for this win. And it's going to be 13 really long minutes, definitely. I know the feeling.
It's not a nice feeling, I guess, either. It sort of makes it worthwhile when you take the checkered flag, but they must feel like very long minutes as the clock ticks on down then. So this is going to decide who wins the grand final in the AM contest. David Staab leading the race, Andrei Lewandowski second. Yesterday, David Staab and Nico Roger were fourth, whereas Andrei Lewandowski was the winner, and he makes his move on the inside line down at turn 5, goes through, but will he go out wide? Yes, he will. So David Staab fights back on the inside line, heading up the hill. They're going to be overlapping. Staab gets his nose back in front, retakes the lead at turn 6, but then Lewandowski lines up to make another attack on the inside at 7 and can't do it. There's a brush between the two. Staab goes out wide. Lewandowski lets him rejoin the road there rather than force the issue. And as they climb the hill, it is still just David Staab ahead. Great racing.
Great stuff, great stuff. Great to watch. So keep going, guys. I mean, this is what we want to see. Just two guys trying to win the race there. So fantastic.
And of course, it's the last race of the season for these cars. There's something like 6 months of repair time, so they can get stuck in and nose to tail. And just in case David Staab's life wasn't tough enough, he's now got a back marker to get past as well. So
again,
indeed, another one. Eyes front for the traffic, eyes on that little TV video monitor in the car, which acts as a rear view mirror. David Staab pounces, goes through, and actually Lewandowski delayed a bit there.
That was important. That was definitely important. That helped him a little bit. So I think for the next lap he will be a little bit in clear air. But we've seen that the pace is slightly on Lewandowski's side. So the chance of Lewandowski of closing the gap is there again. So we'll probably see this battle continuing until the end.
And the contact between those two is under investigation. So David Staab leads, Andrzej Lewandowski is second, and straight away, no further action comes the decision from race control. So they've had a look and said, no, it's just racing. So brush that one aside, and the lead gap had gone up. Bearing in mind they were side by side at this exit of the corner a lap ago. It was 1.4 seconds at the end of the lap, which just illustrates what a difference the traffic made. So Lewandowski's got to do it all over again. He always seems to run wider, doesn't he? Coming out of turn 5 there, he uses the run-off. That is the man leading the Lamborghini Cup at the moment, Gerard van der Horst, but the Samoulins, who are behind, are possibly going to benefit here, because van der Horst has a penalty of 1/10 of a second for being short on the pit stops, and yesterday he was only 4th, whereas the Samoulins were the race winners. It is 15 for a win. Gerard van der Horst got 9 yesterday, because he got a point for a pole position as well. So it looks as though it's likely to work out as a tie between the two, and then you go to the fastest race laps to determine it. But that 1/10 of a second, if the Samoulins get closer and the result trips the other way, is going to be very significant, that penalty to van der Horst. There are the leaders, and Lewandowski, strangely, is not finding it as easy to get back onto the tail. The gap's not come down that much, has it? Over the line goes Staab, over the line goes Lewandowski. 1.4, down to 1.2, but maybe this is now David Staab settling into a rhythm. But this was a really good move, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Really, really late on the brake. Couldn't really quite stop the car as much as he needed to make it rotate and exit alongside it, or even slightly in front. So at the end, managed to do the cutback and regain the lead.
And as the gap is down to the eye, this time coming down towards turn 5, yep, it's back down to 0.9 of a second. So Lewandowski is pressing on, pushing on, and bringing down that gap to David Staab, but David Staab only has to win by 1,000th of a second as long as he wins, and Lewandowski realises that he's in a big, big fight here. He may be a more experienced Lamborghini racer, but David Staab certainly able to defend really vigorously. turn 9 they come now. The road climbs up the hill again, over the brow to this next 10, 11, 12 corkscrew sequence. Now, you touched on tyres earlier on and how there can be some degradation around here. It's fair to say both of these cars have really worked their tyres very, very hard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a slight advantage, I would say, on the leading car, having pitted a few laps later, so they could obviously change the tire pressures a few laps later. So for sure, it's an advantage to pit a little bit later. But yeah, for sure, the tire mileage is the same for both cars. So I don't expect the one or the other to have an advantage on the opponent. And they're both doing an amazing job. I mean, Lewandowski really fast, but also Staab is the way you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Staab doing an amazing job in defending and keeping that lead, and you really see he wants that win.
You watch those two fighting, it's almost wrong to call them AMs, isn't it? You know, these are AM plus, these are very, very good drivers, just because they don't seek to go international GT racing yet. But of course, we've had Andrzej Lewandowski racing in GT3 machinery in the FIA Motorsport Games back at Vallelunga in 2019, for example. There is the car of Francois Semoulin. Now, he is falling, no, he's ahead now of Gerard van der Horst, forgive me, so that's going to give them the victory in Lamborghini Cup. It was going to be a tie on points, but now they are ahead, so that's going to give them the victory. And why is van der Horst behind them? I think he's had a moment somewhere. So right now, Lewandowski and Les Semoulin are looking as though they're going to be the winners. Claude Senhoretti is being given another penalty for track limit offences. I think it's probably quicker now just to tell you who's not being given a penalty for track limits. But impressively, the top two drivers, Staab and Lewandowski, are not being penalised. They, despite the closeness of their battle, have been keeping it clean. Now, there is Lewandowski, but he's not getting any closer. The gap is widening again. So, again, 2 laps ago, they were side by side. Now, 1.4 seconds apart. Has Lewandowski thought, do you know what? He's racing well. I can just sit here and take the win on the points. What do you think?
Well, I think that obviously in the battle you learn about your opponent. You see the lines he's taking, you see where the strength points are of the other car, and you try to adapt your driving style. You try to adapt to learn where can I improve, where can I drive in a better way in order to to keep the gap or to close the gap. So I think that Staab is doing a great job at the moment on keeping the distance, keeping the gap consistent, hitting his apexes, his braking points. No mistakes from what I can see. He's also really careful on track limits, so he's driving a brilliant race and deserves to be in the lead at the moment.
Yeah, he does, because for all that pressure, as you rightly say, he's not made mistakes, he's not been exceeding track limits, he's not put a wheel wrong, and there you see that lap analysis of how the lap times of the two leading cars compare. But David Staab, now that he's in a rhythm, now that he's more confident, is starting to back up what Nico Roger was saying in that interview. He looks like he might be able to bring it home. The Lamborghini Palm Beach entry comes over the brow of the hill with Andrzej Lewandowski chasing, but not really being able to get close enough. In 3rd place on the road, but with a penalty, Shehan Chandrasoma, but he's so far ahead of Alex Au, the penalty will be counted. 5th is Gabriel Rindoni, 6th is the Gregor Moczulski and Adrian Lewandowski entry ahead of Raffaele Giannoni, then Claude Senhoretti with 2 penalties, Randy Solari 9th on the road, and Wesley Slint, who took over from Tyler Hoffman, is in 10th. This is Lewandowski riding with him now. That's a car in 3rd place, Shehan Chandrasoma. He's a little bit lonely, but the far less experienced Texan comes down the hill. It was a great reception for him at the Super Trofeo prize giving last night to claim his AM Championship. And that car looks great in that stunning gold livery, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's a well-driven car too. Heads over the timing line, so Shehan Chandrasoma goes through. It's always fascinating as well, isn't it, at a weekend like this, to see how drivers progress over the course of a weekend, because especially for the American drivers that don't know the circuit, some of the Europeans may have raced here in other things, but you come to a completely new venue, you get some testing, you get a lot of mileage through warm-up sessions, free practice, qualifying and races, and by the end of the weekend they found so much time, the newcomers.
Oh yeah, sure, and it's for sure a track that is not really like it's not the typical American track, let's say.
Yeah,
it's probably the only, the one track that comes to my mind if I have to think about American tracks, probably Coda, which comes close to Portimao in terms of runoff areas and the way the track is built, let's say. But it's for sure always a joy to come to Portimao and drive on this track. As I said, ups and downs, blind corners, high-speed corners, low-speed technical parts. So you have everything you need to enjoy the driving here.
And the weather's not half bad either, as you look at this battle now between Gregor Moczulski and Claude Senhoretti. Senhoretti looking to try to get 7th on the road, but he's got 10 seconds worth of penalties to be added at the end of the race, so he's going to fall away. But he certainly wants to move himself up ahead of Gregor Moczulski. Raffaele Giannoni being given another 5-second penalty for track limit offences as well, so it can take quite a long time to get the classification sorted out. Over the brow they come. 2.5 minutes of the race to go. Lead gap is down again to 1 second. Slade Stewart there, the North American Lamborghini Cup champion, in the car with the unicorn on the side of it. Dubbed Sparkle Farts, the livery of that. You've got Fred Roberts behind him, and he was a double winner on Friday. And then you've also got from the pit lane Tom Tate behind. He started from the pits, therefore last on that first lap, but he's fighting his way back into contention, and he's running in 19th place overall, and it's about to go 18th, isn't it, as he has a look on the inside. Couldn't quite get alongside in time. It's a tough hairpin, that, in a sense, isn't it, because as you're braking, the road's dropping downhill coming into the corner.
Yeah, it really invites you to to send it to the inside, but yeah, it's not always working, let's say. Yeah, most of the time you'll just outbrake yourself because yeah, the minimum speed is really low, and everything you gain on the entry you lose on the exit if you're too aggressive or too late on the brakes. So it's a really tricky corner, definitely that for the race.
Well, there going through is Andrzej Lewandowski, who was 11/10ths back. He's now 7/10ths of a second back. He's having another push here, and they're going to start the last lap this time around. There's now less than a lap time left in the race, so as they head towards turn 12, turn 13, sequence of corners, the margin coming down and down and down. Lewandowski looking like he's going to have one last push, but the way that David Staab has driven suggests that Lewandowski ain't going to get through. And does that car, maybe it's the way Lewandowski drives it, or maybe it's got a touch more understeer, because it does seem to be harder to get to bite coming through a corner on occasions.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit, for sure. I mean, the aero effect is not so big, but you feel it when you're following, so that can also generate more temperature on your front tires. Obviously, the more you have, or when you reach a certain limit, then you lose the grip on the front axle. Yeah, so that could be, obviously, running in clean air is always an advantage in these cars. But as we've seen a few laps ago, that they were running wheel to wheel for, I don't know, 1 lap or half a lap or something like that. So it's great racing, and it's obviously great to a great car to race.
And these drivers, many of whom have been loyal to Super Trofeo for many, many seasons, would back that up. And Andrzej Lewandowski then accelerates up the hill. So is he going to be able to have one last go? Claude Senhoretti has just picked up a third 5-second penalty. The clock hits 0. The flag will be out this time as the race leaders turn their way up now through turn 8. I just can't see Lewandowski getting close enough. Again, he just runs that little bit wider coming out of turn 8 over the brow. Left at 9, climb the hill again towards 10. Then it drops down the other side. And David Staab has done a very good job of repelling everything that Lewandowski has thrown at him, but the gap is down just a fraction here. Lewandowski, more experienced, a Lamborghini racer. David Staab, though, now look at this, suddenly encountering traffic. Is that going to be a factor? Lewandowski gets much, much closer, and there's a whole gaggle of cars ahead. This is not what you need when you try to win a race. Lewandowski has a look on the inside line. Door closed. He needs to get a good, tight exit here. And David Staab needs to take a big, deep breath and just absolutely send it through the back markers. He comes up to get past the car there of Alan Grossberg, which he does round the outside without drama. Lewandowski right up behind him. It's going to be a drag to the line, but the checkered flag is going to be waved to David Staab, who drives brilliantly to win the second element of the AM and Lamborghini Cup part of the grand final from Andrzej Lewandowski. The margin, 0.244 of a second. Third over the line, Shahan Chandrasoma. He's got a penalty to factor in, but I think he's going to be okay to maintain that third place. But those last few corners for David Starb, that must have been hell with all the traffic ahead of him and a car looking for the race win behind him.
Wow, I mean, that was the last lap I didn't expect, but as we saw, or as we've seen earlier on in the race, once you run into back market traffic in the wrong moment, it can really spice things up, and that's what happened in the last few corners. So brilliant stuff from all drivers involved, and yeah, thrilling final.
Absolutely, but David Starb having to cope with the pressure, didn't make a mistake, had to cope with back markers, didn't make a mistake, and was thrown into that high pressure situation and did an absolutely outstanding job. David Starb, who as I was saying earlier on, took 4 wins along with Nico Roger in Super Trofeo North America. He has come into Super Trofeo from racing Mazda MX-5s, a totally different sort of race car.
Yeah, that's great to see. I mean, great. I mean, obviously, you can't compare these cars, and jumping into, you know, rear-wheel drive car like the Super Trofeo with a lot more power, a lot more downforce, and you know, smashing the results at the end of the day is surely a great feeling.
Absolutely right. And there the car of Benoit and Francois Semelin comes through to win the Lamborghini Cup on the road, and also, I reckon, within the grand final. So an excellent effort. Andrzej Lewandowski with a win and a second should therefore be able to take the AM contest on points, because with that should give him then 27 as against the 24 of David Starb and Nico Roger. So 2 victories, if you like, in that element of grand finals, 2 drivers from the European Championship. But yeah, fabulous race, lots going on, and some proper racing as well. That wasn't processional by any stretch of the imagination. That was good, hard racing.
Absolutely, that's what we want to see. That's what we have in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and great job by everyone involved. I mean, we've seen in this race, as we were talking during the race, that Starb was actually struggling in the first part after the pit stop, as expected. Lewandowski hot in the car from the first stint, so immediately on it on his outlap, and the first few laps after the pit stops. But yeah, the pressure was definitely on, and he handled it brilliantly and took the win home.
And it also underlines, doesn't it, the relevance of that extra 3-second penalty, if you like, to the solo drivers, because it does just start to balance it out a little bit more against the double driver entries. Nico Roger without the crash helmet, David Starb with his helmet still on, celebrating. John Doonan from IMSA in the background comes over to say well done, looking after his guys, as it were, but an excellent job done by the pair of them. Again, I make the point of relatively limited experience, but you wouldn't have thought it. So, the victory finger in the air, and Andrzej Lewandowski talking about his race. That car run by VSR, Vincenzo Sospiri's team. So, disappointed maybe not to have won the race, but on points, that should do it for him, subject to confirmation. So the race winners bouncing with delight. In the background you see Jehan Chandrasoma, who keeps the 3rd place despite the penalty from Alexei, Gabriel Rindoni, and then Gregor Moczulski and Adrian Lewandowski coming home in 6th place. So David Starb, so busy is he being congratulated, he still hasn't had time to take off his crash helmet, but he will hopefully do that in a moment. There are yet more photographs of the race winners to be taken. And once that is done, we might be able to have a word with them, because Nico Roger is there. David Starb, I think, finally will be allowed to take off his crash helmet just in time to talk to Marietta.
We're gonna give him 1 second or 2 to remove his helmet. What an end of the race, and I want to hear his thoughts. David, talk us through that last lap with all the traffic in front of you and with Lewandowski just behind you. How did you manage that?
It was intense. I just had to go back to the fundamentals that we've been working on all weekend, all the data we've been watching, all the videos we've reviewed, just prepared to execute every corner out there and keep it in front.
Nico, what was going through your mind when you were watching him in the car that last lap?
Oh man, I had full confidence. You know, I think David woke up this morning and just decided to piss excellence. He's been amazing. He drove an amazing race. This is the best drive that he's had all year, and you know, we really deserved the championship, but we'll take this win and we'll go home winners because we know we had it in the bank.
Well done, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Two very, very happy drivers. You can understand why, but yeah, it was a mighty effort that by David Starb with all of that pressure. And great job done. Andrzej Lewandowski, there he is, reflecting on that race, but by our maths, it's still going to give him the grand final win with a win and a second place as against a win and a fourth. And there are the Semolans who win in the race, and they win on points. Getting down is harder than getting up by the look of it. But the Semolans had 2 Lamborghini Cup wins in the Super Trofeo races on Friday, and they round out a really good weekend with another race win and grand final success here as well. And the Lamborghini Cup, which caters for the real gentleman drivers, has been a really popular addition to the championship, hasn't it?
Yeah, surely. I mean, it gives the chance to everyone to compete for their class, and it's great to see this variety of classes and good fights within the class as well.
For sure. And we talk about the Semolans and Gerard van der Horst as other example. People that have been in Lamborghini Cup for a season and another season and another season, they've got no desire to go off and race anywhere else. They love the cars, they love the effort that Lamborghini put in and the hospitality. It does become one big family.
Ah, yeah, it is, and there is no reason to to swap it for something else. I mean, look at the cars, look at the, you know, I think everybody enjoys the entire weekend, the racing, as you said, the catering, the hospitality, everything that the Lamborghini Super Trofeo brings to the races. And yeah, for sure, I'm looking forward to even more in the next season.
Indeed. We'll come to that in a moment, perhaps. Let's hear from the Semolans. They've won again, Marietta.
And they are 2 very happy Semolan brothers. Can you try to put in words how you are feeling right now?
It's incredible. It's a dream that come true. You know, we've been working together with my brother and all my friends that are the mechanics, and that we've been educated since 10 years now, and we are the smallest team of the paddock, and what we just achieved is just unbelievable. Just 2 years ago in 2019 we've been the European champion in the Cup, and then we made part of the season this year. We just came here to have fun, and yeah, so much explosion of it's incredible.
Benoit, I can see the emotion on your face.
Yeah, it's also unbelievable, like my father said. I would like to thank all the team, all the family, the sponsor, Christophe and Jean-Sepp, who are there. Here I have a very special thing for my mother, as I know that she are looking the TV. Mom, it's for you, this one. Thank you very much.
She will be so proud. Enjoy the moment, guys.
That sums it all up, doesn't it? 2 absolutely delighted AM racers having the time of their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, great to watch, to see the passion and you know, the passion for motorsport, and the love they put in is clearly visible, and yeah, to round it out with a fantastic result as they just described is probably, yeah, not probably, 100% a great feeling for them, and yeah, congratulations.
Let's just look at the results then. Penalties factored in. David Starb and Nico Roger, the race winner from Andrzej Lewandowski and Shehan Chandrasoma third. Alex Au takes 4th ahead of Gabriele Rindoni, with Gregor Machulski and Adrian Lewandowski finishing in 6th. 7th, Randy Solari ahead of Raffaele Giannoni, then Jürgen Krebs with Wesley Slimp and Tyler Hoffman 10th. The Semolan brothers, 14th to win Lamborghini Cup. Fred Roberts, 16th, second in Lamborghini Cup, and Gerard van der Horst coming home 3rd in the class. So the drivers then being taken to the podium, where we'll have a podium ceremony for each of the 2 classes very shortly. And their confirmation of Lamborghini Cup points, where it is then the Semolans that win the grand final from Slade Stewart and Gerard van der Horst in 3rd. And there is confirmation of the AM situation, where Andrzej Lewandowski takes the grand final win from David Starb and Nico Roger with Shehan Chandrasoma coming home in third in those points. So some great racing we've had across the weekend from the AMS and the Lamborghini Cup competitors. That is their weekend completed, but we've got the Pro and Pro-Am race to look forward to shortly. The podium awaits. Lots of exciting announcements made for Lamborghini last night, with confirmation that Iron Lynx here this weekend with the Iron Dames in Super Trofeo. He's going to be running cars in the World Endurance Championship and in IMSA, and Lamborghini's motorsport activities continuing to extend as well. The podium awaits. Let's just catch our breath for a moment though and have a look at some of the super slow motion shots from that race. So the winning drivers then making their way to the podium at the end of the AM and Lamborghini Cup race. As we were saying during the course of it, so many drivers being given penalties, some more than once, for track limit abuses. I suppose, Mirko, one of the problems of a modern racetrack is that you have that run-off tarmac, so track limit becomes a problem. But the other option is that you have lots of gravel traps, and if a car goes wide into the gravel, you've got constant interruptions with safety cars. There doesn't seem to be an easy solution.
No, it's not. It's a general common issue we have, not only in Portimao, obviously, in many other tracks. There are different ways to handle it. I think that monitoring with some systems could be probably the best one. As we've seen in other championships as well this year, that works really well. But of course, penalties are coming. I mean, if you go over it, then you know what to expect at least. Drivers will adapt to the track limit itself. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, having runoff areas makes track safe.
Yeah.
Safety is really important for motorsport. That's clear. We need to make cars safe and the tracks as safe as possible. But at the end of the time, at the end of the day, we also want to have you know, a fair competition. And you know, track limits is a common issue.
Yeah. And also, of course, this is an example of a circuit, and there are many others on which GT cars, GT-style cars race that accommodate cars and motorbikes. So the curbing has to be very low, very flat, which in a car makes it even easier to drive over.
Yeah, exactly, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the issue. But yeah, I think a good definition of what is allowed and what is not allowed, and the way it will be penalized is probably the best way to handle track limits.
Well, we've had some great racing, that is for sure, and we're going to start with the Lamborghini Cup race podium. Gerard van der Horst is already there for his third place. That's Fred Roberts, who was a double race winner on Friday in Super Trofeo North America. But there are the delighted Semoulin brothers, Benoit and Francois Semoulin, the Belgian drivers on the top step of the podium, and they can celebrate for the Semspeed team. The Semolan brothers took 4 wins in Lamborghini Cup Europe, Super Trofeo Lamborghini Cup Europe during the course of the season. So 4 race wins in the championship, 1 grand final win, and it is Stefan Winkelmann, the chairman and CEO of Automobili Lamborghini, who hands over the trophies to the third-placed Jared van der Horst, to the second-placed Fred Roberts, and now to the race winners, the Semolans, who are absolutely elated with that. They cannot stop smiling, and it's just great to see as they all now get together on the top step of the podium. Jared van der Horst looking rather less than delighted with his 3rd place, because of course he was leading on the track, but in the end fell back into 3rd place. So disappointment for the European Lamborghini Cup champion. The fallen trophy almost sums up his race there, doesn't it? But he's ready with the champagne, and friends and family down in the pit lane, all smiles as well. So congratulations to the Lamborghini Cup drivers, who round out a busy weekend of mileage here at the Algarve circuit. And that's the winning car, representing Lamborghini Brussels, Benoit and Francois Semolan. As they say, the smallest team in the paddock, but it's been a great weekend, and they win in Lamborghini Cup in this second part of Grand Final weekend, and on aggregated points, take the championship. So now it is time for the AM drivers to step forward onto the podium, where 3rd place Shehan Chandrasoma steps forward, the AM champion in North America. Then for 2nd place, the man that wins the grand final on points and adds yet another title therefore to his Lamborghini CV. Andrzej Lewandowski steps forwad. Says well done to Shehan Chandrasoma, and goes to the 2nd step. Last year, you might remember, in the world final at Misano, it was a brake failure that put Andrzej Lewandowski off the road at very high speed, but he's bounced back, wins the AM Championship in Europe, wins the grand final. But the race winners are the delighted combination of Nico Roger and David Staab, and they really deserve that race win. Great drive by the pair of them, Nico Roger in that opening stint, David Staab in the 2nd, and they win race 2. Congratulations to Nico Roger and David Staab and the Precision Performance Motorsports team. Reuven Moore, the Chief Technical Officer for Automobili Lamborghini, steps forward, hands the trophy to Shehan Chandrasoma, then to Andrzej Lewandowski, and in a moment, after the handshakes, there will be the trophies. There they are, to David Staab and Nico Roger. They held the trophies aloft, they're all smiles, but that was a mighty drive by both of them. Perhaps we dwell on David Staab because of what he had to go through at the end, but Nico Roger in his stint was very impressive as well, pulling away.
Yeah, dominant performance in general, so great result for them, and as we said before, no mistakes, good pace, good strategy. At the end of the day, it was really tight there with the back markers, but makes it feel even better, I would say.
For sure.
So great result for them, and deserved win.
Now that's how you spray champagne. Nico Roger gets an absolute mouthful of it. 4 race wins they took in the North American Super Trofeo Championship season, and another victory at Grand Final weekend. But there in the yellow boots, it is Andrzej Lewandowski who beats them on points with a win in the 2nd. And great action we have had in the AM and Lamborghini Cup part of Grand Finals. There's just one more race to go. That's for the pros and the Pro-Ams, which will start at 10 to 3 local time. And that promises to be an absolute stormer. But the race win in the 2nd AM race of Grand Final weekend goes to Nico Roger and David Staab as they take race honours. So after an outstanding AM and Lamborghini Cup race, we look forward to the pros and the Pro-Ams. Join us for that a little bit later on. That will be at 10 to 3 local time. It's about 10 past 1 now here at Portimao. We'll look forward to more great racing. But for now, from Marietta Evans, Mirko Bortolotti and David Anderson, it's goodbye. We'll leave you with the highlights.